Hello everyone. Let me introduce a little bit about myself. My name is Tang and you can call me T. And I am a sophomore at Da Nang University of Science and Technology. And my major is about automotive technology. Today I'm gonna talk about 7 conversations. The first conversation is about 2 people, one man and one woman. First, the man first the man informed to the woman that her room key was ready and she was assigned to room 250, which located at on the second floor at the end of the hall. Then he also mentioned that the checkout time was at noon, and he also points out the elevator's locations. Then the woman thanks him, and she asked for some help with her luggage. The man said the man said he would call for assistance, and he asked if there was anything else he could do for her. Finally, the woman asked for the woman asked for the direction to the nearby restaurant called Mama House, as her boss had recommended. That's the end of the first conversation. Now let's move on to the next conversation. This conversation is among 3 people, one man and 2 women. First, the man first the man was so sorry for missing the meeting that day, and he wanted to know if his assistant Pam called to confirm that. And he explained that he had an appointment with his tooth repair on that day. The woman one confirmed that his assistant did, and she expressed her sympathy for that. After that, the woman too. After that, the woman too said that everyone was able to get the meeting except for Bob, and and the man was so surprised by that. See, he thought Bob was supposed to get the budget report, which was an important item on the agenda. So the woman too suggests scheduling 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 another meeting on Monday. And finally, the man showed his intention joining it. That's the end of the second conversation. Now let's move on to the next conversation. First, the man complained that the column didn't make any sense. He said that it shows a loss. Then the woman explained that she had she had then the woman explained that they had included last year's figures, and then the man the man told her the man told her to take them out and add it up again. Finally, the women agreed with him, and that they she mentioned that they had to finish that was soon. They had to finish that was soon, and she planned it to mail it off to the client that afternoon. Thank you for listening. Now, next conversation is between 2 people, one man and one woman. First, the woman said that the mayor had no comments at that time, but however, the man wanted to know the, the man wanted to know the women's feelings about that about that. Last year, negotiations have been as favorable to the union as last year or not. Then the women suggested waiting until the mayor press conference and advised him to apply to the mayor's office for press pass to attend the event. However, the man still asked for the mayor's opinion about her educational policies weren't fair to low-income children. Finally, the woman was a little bit disappointed, and she emphasized that no more question at that time. That's the end of the conversation. Now let's move on to the next conversation. This conversation is about two people waiting for the repair person. First, the woman advised the man to relax, and she thought he would be able to fix it. Then the man complained that he had been waiting there all morning, waiting by the door all morning. Then the woman explained that because the traffic was terrible at that time of day, and she wanted to know when he called him. Then the man replied to the woman that he had called him at 9 o'clock, and his secretary said he would be there by noon, which was then. And finally, the woman agreed with him, and she said she was sure he would be there at any time. Thank you for listening. First, the women explained that they used a formula to arrive at the decision, and then the man supposed that as long as interest rate was going down, so that the money was more available or not. Then the women replied that he was partly correct, that he was true for most loans, but his application didn't meet their minimum requirements. So the man asked the woman for helping he out, because he really needs that loans. Then the woman suggested that he and his wife should meet with their financial advisor, and she believed that he can counsel him on the best way to manage his finance. And finally, the man wanted to know how he can make the appointment with him. That's the end of the conversation. Now let's move on to the last conversation, which is between two people, one man and one woman. First, the woman commented that this player was much better than she thought he would. She said he beat out all the other players. The man agreed with her. He He supposed that he had been too inexperienced for that course, but he was proven that he was wrong. The player was able to direct all his attention to what he was doing. Then the women commented again that the final score had proved his talent. She supposed that his family would be very proud of his accomplishment. And finally, the man supposed that they would be even prouder when the club president handed him in awards. Thank you for listening.